On the last episode of Spirits and Screams,
Dracula from 1979. And Frank Langella was a very attractive man. That scene is so amazing. The wolf is so gorgeous. And there's a jump scare and he crashes out of the coffin.
Welcome to Spirits and Screams.
And they have a party. I think they have a party, and that's when Lucy meets him for the first time. When she meets him, she's trying to hold back, but she's just so wow. And he's just so attractive, and his eyes are sort of black but kind of glassy, and he just seems to look at people as though they're his prey. He's so fixated on them, and it's haunting but amazing and gorgeous at the same time. And his deep voice and the way he talks, he's just so charismatic. Such a great actor to choose for this role. And just the way he, portrayed him was really amazing. Really, really incredible. Still very modern to me, though, compared to what we had seen before that. And they have dinner at this really long table with a feast and these elaborate candelabras, and they're all dressed up, really fancy, and having these intellectual conversations. Oh man, it's so fun. I just love this one. So everybody's mingling and talking and stuff, and Lucy and Mina are smitten by Dracula right off the top. How could they not be? Mina is actually, her dad is Van Helsing. Okay, but Dracula at this point doesn't really know who Van Helsing is or any of that yet. But he goes after Mina first and tries to woo her, and of course she's smitten with him. That makes Lucy very jealous. And Jonathan, who's kind of engaged to Lucy or with Lucy, is like, what the hell's going on here? What are you doing? Kind of thing. But he just has this way of mesmerizing them and captivating them. So they're all very drawn to him as well. He's got kind of like a weird psychic ability as well. So he can overpower women and draw them to him. So that's kind of what's going on right now. There's lots of tension and lots of craziness going on. You're kind of wondering what's going to happen next. At least I was at the time, because I had never heard of the story or what happens or, how it goes. I'm sure if someone watches this movie nowadays, you'd know a lot of the lore and the story behind it. So you'd kind of maybe know what was going to happen or what was happening with it. But I didn't at the time. And what an amazing experience that was to learn about the whole thing through this film. It really was. I'm really grateful that I was able to do that. And that's why I think it's got a dear place in my heart as one of my top favorite films, because it just did that for me. And it's still such a great movie. And I guess I should say too that, like, Dracula instantly knows that Lucy is his soulmate. He sees that Lucy and Jonathan are together, and he's like, kind of thing. So he goes after Mina first to kind of start causing shit so that he can make his plan kind of play out, and he can win Lucy and get her to be forever, for all eternity, as his bride and his partner. And one thing I love about this film too is it in a way doesn't degrade women. It kind of makes her, I guess it kind of does a little bit, but it kind of takes Lucy and puts her in a position of power alongside him, equal as his partner together, as well as him taking care of her and that kind of thing. And I think that I loved that as a kid, seeing that really made me have a good perspective of things and see something positive. It's a weird story, and it's very scary and creepy and that kind of thing. But I kind of liked that was part of it. And there's a shot of Dracula scaling, like upside down the wall of the castle with his cape. It's kind of weird, and it reminded me of the way that they filmed the green liquid in Prince of Darkness, which is ironic because Donald Pleasance was in Prince of Darkness. It reminded me of that. And I'm sure that's how they did it. They filmed one direction and they flipped the film sideways or upside down to give it the look like he was climbing downwards kind of thing, just like they did with the liquid. They flipped the film upside down so that it looked like it was dripping up instead of down. It was very realistic. I love that. I don't think CGI could have accomplished that at all in the same way, so I thought that was really cool. And he's scaling up the wall to get to Mina's room to get to her, and he kind of comes through her door in the same kind of way that I was saying about the transformation with the cape and the bat, that kind of thing. And then there's a swirling fog that kind of comes up from under him that's just so iconic and so cool. And in this scene, Mina's kind of half asleep in her bed and she can sense he's there, and she, like, you know, rips her shirt open to expose her neck so he can bite her neck. And then we don't really actually see, we see his head, but we don't see him biting. And all we hear is the wolf howling. Oh, what a scene that is. I mean, so cool, so weirdly horrifying and romantic all at the same time, you know, as opposed to seeing the teeth going into the neck and the blood spilling out. We just kind of know that's what's happening. I love that scene so very much. And then we get into Renfield, who is basically a caretaker for Dracula, and, you know, gets bitten, and he's kind of on the verge of becoming a full-fledged vampire, but he's kind of a slave to Dracula. Anyway, he's kind of a crazy person, ends up in the asylum, and he's eating bugs and all of that stuff. I remember thinking that was so weird and so cool at the same time. I just love that. He's a really good actor in this one too, with the bugs. Ugh, so gross, but so cool. His speech about how he wants a kitten, you know, to play with and feed and make fat. Oh, so creepy and so amazing. But like I say, all of those elements are part of the story that's always retold, and they managed to put everything into this 2-hour film, you know, and it's not choppy and it's not weird, and you're not left thinking, what the heck just happened there? You're really captivated and pulled into the story and the characters, and I think it's just phenomenal how they were able to do that. Because of the bite, Mina gets sick very quickly, and there's a scene where she's can't get her breath and she looks really pale, and Donald Pleasance, he has to come out. She's visiting Mina for whatever reason, and her dad is away in Paris, Van Helsing, so she gets very sick and she's choking, and so Donald Pleasance has to help her because he's a doctor and because he is their caretaker, right? He's taking care of them, looking after her while she's visiting. It's so hilarious because she can't get breath and she's choking, and he starts slapping her across the face and telling her to breathe, breathe. Like, that's gonna help, poor girl. And she dies. It all happens super fast. And what's interesting is a lot of other films that portray this, you know, they draw that scene out in a huge way. And I find that really weird that they do that, because they do that so quickly here and you kind of get the gist of it, you know. That's what's happened. It's really kind of shocking to your system, which is what you want to have happen, right? They're shocked by it, that she's passing away really fast. So we should see that really quickly. So I think that's really neat how they did that. And then, of course, they call Van Helsing and he has to come and figure out why. And it's heartbreaking, you know. He just wants to know from the beginning what happened, and how this could have been, because is he a researcher? I think he is. And so he wants to investigate and figure out what happened here from his own mind, like from the facts, rather than hearing that she just mysteriously passed away. And then they have her funeral and everyone's devastated by it. And of course, Lucy goes to Dracula's castle for dinner by herself and ditches Jonathan. And yeah, because why wouldn't she? And she dresses up so beautifully, and his castle's all lit with candles. It's so romantic, but so creepy and terrifying all at the same time. I just love it. She's there by herself, completely helpless against this evil animal, but she thinks he's this charismatic, wonderful man that she's met. It's just, there's so much tension there. It's so creepy. We have them having dinner together, and they're talking, and they hear the wolves howling in the background, and Dracula says, "Listen to the children of the night, what sad music they make." That famous line. Oh my God, so cool. Okay, and Lucy's really attracted to him, but she's super torn between Jonathan and him, and, you know, kind of messes her up, but she just very strongly goes towards Dracula. Okay, then back at home, at the asylum, one of the patients or workers has a baby in the institution, and all of a sudden she starts freaking out and screaming because someone killed her baby. The baby's dead. We do see this like baby doll looking thing on the ground that's like, obviously, you know, and whoa. It's very shocking. She starts frantically and almost crazily describing that it was Mina, and she looked white, and she had fangs, and she bit the baby and drank her blood, that kind of thing. And they're thinking, this chick's crazy, you know, couldn't have happened. But anyway, things are starting to kind of come together, patch together. Also, what's been happening at the same time too is that Van Helsing gets the story of what happened to his daughter, starts researching stuff, comes up with a conclusion that it's got to be a vampire that's doing all of this. That must be what happened. Knowing that they have to go to the cemetery and dig up her coffin to see if she's still there. So Van Helsing goes to the cemetery to dig up his daughter's grave and to see if she's there, you know, just to know that she's actually dead. And they dig up the coffin. The coffin's empty. It's dark, and they're in the cemetery. And he finds a hole from her coffin going into the ground, and it goes into this underground cave. Oh, it's so creepy. It still gives me chills to today. They crawl through the hole, go in, and Van Helsing has his cross, his crucifix in his hand, and he drops it into this puddle in the cave, and he's trying to search to find it. And in the reflection in the water, we see creepy vampire Mina walk up behind him in her makeup and everything. So scary. And he turns around and sees her there, and she comes at him and keeps saying, "Papa, Papa," you know. Oh, it's so heartbreaking. So he's torn between saving her, wanting her to be alive, and having to drive the stake through her heart. Anyway, they end up driving the stake through her heart and killing her, and he's holding her and sobbing because he's just so sad about it. As she's dying, she's even saying, "Papa, Papa." Oh my God, that scene is so amazing, so awesome. It is way better than the Bram Stoker's version of it, for sure. Having watched it again, I just forgotten over the years, but so good, so heartbreaking. It really did make me teary-eyed. And when you think about that scene, the fact that they're underground in the darkness in a cave, knowing she's somewhere, and then her coming out that way, that is so scary to me. That is like one of the scariest things I've ever watched in my life. Even to today, especially because the makeup and all that was done so well. Oh my God, so believable. After all of this, Van Helsing has what he says is a crucifix on a necklace from Mina, and he gives it to Lucy as a gift and tells her to wear it all the time because he knows there's a vampire out there somewhere that has done this and that Lucy's going to be in danger. And so she does wear it, but then as soon as Dracula comes around, she takes it off. Of course, you know, why wouldn't you? And then Dracula rides up on it with his cape on a horse and meets Van Helsing for the first time. And he knows what's happening. and Van Helsing kind of close into like who this guy is and what's going on, and you see that relationship kind of happen, and you know there's a lot of tension there and things are going to be kind of whacked, that maybe Van Helsing has a chance to get rid of Dracula and stop this all from happening. But Lucy is kind of open game now, right? He set the ground for it, so he definitely goes after Lucy to claim her as his bride and for them to be soulmates and live in eternity forever. And it kind of goes that way. And when they hook up and he finally bites her, she allows him to do that, but she's kind of under his spell as well. But the whole scene is really cool because they film it in a way that it looks like it's got a red filter on it, and it's almost like a negative swirling around. The way that they do it is so cool, and it's not hokey. It just looks really, really cool. I think back then they would put they would paint the lens red, would they not? Or something to that effect. I don't know exactly how they did this. If anyone does know, please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'm going to look it up anyway. But it's really cool and well done how they were able to do that. So it kind of implies the blood exchange and all of the stuff going on. What else is really cool is he bites her, but in order for her to change, she has to drink his blood. I guess for the two of them to become immortal and be together and, you know, never die kind of thing. And he takes his finger, his long fingernail, and he cuts his chest, and she drinks from his chest. That whole scene so sticks with me. It was so romantically done and creepy and weird all at the same time. And one of the best scenes I think I've seen in a vampire movie, the way that they did it in this one, especially with all the red being the filter. I just thought that was really neat. They find Lucy, she's been bitten, she's sick in bed, same kind of thing as what Mina went through. And Lucy's dad, Donald Pleasance, he's like flipped out. So he's like, the only way we can help her is by a blood transfusion. So he said, and I'm the only matching donor. So they do that. And, you know, they try to nurse her back to health. And Van Helsing, who believes the supernatural side of this, is taking garlic and rubbing it all on the windows, around the door frames, putting garlic everywhere, doing all these crazy things that he knows are going to help. But everybody else is thinking, you're crazy, we just need to nurse her back to health or she'll die, kind of thing. So then Van Helsing and Dracula have this confrontation. Van Helsing knows who he is, Dracula knows who Van Helsing is, and Dracula isn't able to do anything because Van Helsing has such faith that he's able to kind of, you know, stop him from hurting him, and they split their separate ways, both kind of like what just happened, learning what each of their own powers are. And Donald Pleasance always seems to be 2 steps behind in the whole thing because he's a skeptic and doesn't believe it. But anyway, he's there. And Van Helsing knows they have to go to Mina. Not only did they spear her with a wooden stake, they have to I think cut off her head and take out her heart, because that's the only way they can be assured that she's not going to come back again. And Lucy sees what they're doing and suddenly wakes up, you know, sees what they're doing and is pissed off because she knows that them doing that, they're going to slowly break down his army, Dracula's army, and, you know, destroy all of them. And she, of course, has such a love for him now that she doesn't want that to happen. She's being very protective. And now the men go after Dracula because they know they have to get him. They have to kill him or things are going to be really bad. So they go to the castle in the daytime because they know the sunlight's going to hurt him and he can't live in the sunlight. So they go, but what they don't realize is how powerful he is. He's been Dracula, the first of his kind, for so many years that he's so powerful, and he can walk around in his castle in the basement in the dark with the soil there and whatnot. He can do that, and they don't realize that, so they're kind of foiled in their attempt to get him. And it leads up to one of the coolest endings in a movie, in a vampire movie, that I think I've ever seen. And what we learn from this fight is that, well, Van Helsing kind of learns, is that the rituals and the objects will do nothing to this creature unless they have faith. And I love that idea in that story because it's the same kind of concept as demonic possession and exorcism. It's the faith and going into the light, rising towards the light that defeats the evil. Not a crucifix or a ritual or a prayer or whatever that you do. It's that. It's kind of gravitating away from the evil, the darkness, into the light that's going to defeat the darkness and put it at bay. And I just think that's so cool about this movie. Dracula's a little taken aback by Van Helsing because he wasn't expecting it. I guess he kind of was, but he wasn't expecting him to be so powerful. So he's pissed off. And Lucy jumps in, pretends to be a damsel in distress to get Jonathan so that she can get at him as a distraction so that Dracula can get away or kill everybody. And Jonathan falls for it. He starts listening to her. He gets lured in by her, seduced by her. She goes in for the bite, and we see her eyes change into the black-red contact lenses, and her fangs grow. But I have to say, the teeth, the eyes, are so realistic. It's crazy. It looks so believable, especially for a movie from 1979. Wow, amazing. And luckily Van Helsing breaks in and stops it all from happening, but with a crucifix pointed at her, and she kind of falls backwards away from it because she's, in pain from it. And then they go after Dracula again. So Dracula is able to escape for the moment because of that incident, and he goes straight after Renfield. Poor Renfield, terrified. He wants to be with him, but he basically did a bad thing. So Dracula snaps Renfield's neck, which is a really cool scene in and of itself too. But poor him, I felt kind of bad for him, even though he was eating bugs and everything. But I mean, that's all he was doing. He wasn't hurting anybody. And then, they're able to get to Dracula again to go after him. And then it's the big, iconic, amazing scene. They chase him, they throw things at him like the crucifix, trying to get the stake through his heart, all of that kind of stuff. So Dracula manages to get away on his ship and sails partway away, and they chase him on a boat, and they get there to him, and anyway, long story short, there's a fight that ensues, and they manage to throw this hook that's on board, and they hook him in the back of the neck, and they're able to hoist him up really high on the mast, and the sun starts to burn him because it comes out, and he's flailing around and burning in the sun, and they manage to get him. And Lucy turns back out of being a vampire, turns back to her regular self. And it's all so dramatic and amazing. And one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And, in the end, it doesn't end there. There's dramatic music and everything. Dracula burns away, and his cape flies off, and it looks like a bat flying away into the wind. And you see, they pan down to Lucy, and a little smile comes out of the corner of her mouth, and then it ends, as though she's thinking, he's still alive, you can't get rid of him, you can't get rid of the evil, 100%, he'll be back. And the fact that maybe she did kind of love him and love that part of it, or maybe she's not totally changed back, or maybe she'll never be the same. Man, epic film. It's one of my top favorites. Completely turned me on to the whole vampire subgenre, Dracula, all of that. I've been obsessed ever since, and it was really, really enjoyable and fun watching it again the other day. I really had a good time. I'm sure it's not going to be the last time I watch it. I highly recommend that you check it out if you haven't seen it. Rewatch it again too, because I think you've probably forgotten how good it is. But I also want to know what your favorite vampire movies are, because I think that'd be really fun. I'm hoping some of you have a few that I haven't seen yet, because I'd love to check them out. It's really scary. The acting's so amazing. The music, the set design, the costumes, very romantic, very tragic and sad. All of it in a nutshell. I just loved it. So for my review, I'm definitely giving this one a hard 5 out of 5. A Spirits and Screams cult classic. I freaking love this film. Guys, check it out if you haven't seen it. Rewatch it, like I said. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this, because I'd love to have you as part of the crew, and then we can talk about these films together. It's so awesome. And if you want, join my Patreon. There's more content over there. You can become part of the bookmark club and get a free bookmark and sticker delivered to your door. Every month, a different one from my comic book, Spirits and Screams. And it's just a great way to help support my channel so I can keep doing these things. But you don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to check it out, go for it. And a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting me. I love you guys. Super, super, super appreciate you being here. You guys, this was such a fun one to talk about. I really hope that you enjoyed it as well. Man, so I've got much more stuff coming up, believe me. I'm actually on my way out this evening to go see Terrifier 3 at the theater. Cannot wait. Obviously a review coming soon for that one too. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you again really soon. Bye, guys.